All right, so let's chat. Have you ever thought about being a landlord? Because you hear about all these different people have all this different property out there, and they're like, oh, I'm making thousands and thousands of dollars. Yes, that is possible. And I just want to take some time as a new landlord to share with you the move out fees that we had to pay that were over $3,000, just so you kind of have an idea and are prepared for the process, because I don't know if you were aware of that. I wasn't aware of that. The fees would be that much. The fees I'm going to share with you today are what we're going to call move out fees. So this means the house was ready to go, and these were fees that we had to pay, inspections we had to get done, and so forth to get the house actually ready for tenants. So if you've been with me for a while, you know we're moving to Japan. And in doing that, we decided to rent our home. And we also decided to use a property manager to manage the property because, number one, this is our first time doing it. So we weren't sure of all the different paperwork and the legalities that went with it. And two, we didn't want the stress of trying to manage a property with us being overseas and a huge time difference and all the other things that comes with being overseas. So we went with a property manager. And we feel like it's well worth it. So I don't want you to hear or misunderstand when I'm saying that, oh, you can't make money. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of money to be made, and just know there are a lot of upfront costs too. And with our property manager, we had choices. They said we could either roll the cost of all these repairs into the rent, and they would just take it out of the first month's rent from the tenant, or we could pay them, or we could do a little of both. So what we decided to do was we paid several of the fees up front, and then a lot of the other ones will still come out of the first month rent, which of course means we'll be paying the first month rent more than likely, because this obviously will cut into profits and what the first month's rent would have been. So be prepared for that. Have some money set aside. Oh yeah, and we really appreciate working with this property manager, because although there were a lot of things we had to do, like for example, getting the gas fireplace inspected, which we thought was like, why? You turn a switch on, it works, or it don't, whatever. We appreciate the thoroughness though, because the tenants will have to go through the same process when it's time for them to move. So we want our house to stay in the condition that it's in now. So we appreciate the fact that this property manager, and this is also one of the reasons we chose this property manager, they are very thorough, very particular. They, they just take care of your house better than you did, right? Because I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these things I'm gonna list, we didn't do this on a regular basis. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is going above and beyond, and I appreciate it though, because again, it protects us as the landlord, and it also protects the tenant. So let me go over the different fees that I'm referring to. All right, so these fees are not in any particular order, by the way, either. By law, in the state of Virginia, you have to have your smoke detectors tested and checked every 10 years in a rental property. Since we have been in our home for over 10 years, obviously the smoke detectors were older than 10 years, so we had to have an inspection. And then when they came out and did the inspection, they said, oh, all 7 or whatever smoke detectors we had to be replaced. So that fee was $170. So that was the first fee. And then we also have an in-ground pool that normally we maintain. So these aren't fees that we normally have to pay. And of course, if you don't have a pool, you don't have these fees. If you do, this is another thing to think about. So we are moving in the winter months, so we decided to go ahead and get the pool closed because we do not have a cover for our pool. So that was a $265 fee to close the pool, right? And we're also gonna have to pay the fee to open the pool, and this pool company has something called Pool School. Cute, right? And they'll come out when they open the pool and actually teach the new tenants how to take care of the pool, because that is their responsibility. So with this property manager, the only fees we have to pay with the pool are closing it, opening it, everything that's required to open it, all the chemicals and everything to get it ready. And the tenants have to take care of it the rest of the time, and then we pay to close it again. So those are some fees that we had to pay because we had a pool. Carpet cleaning. So again, normally we clean our own carpets, we vacuum or what have you, but we have never had them deep cleaned and steamed and all that fun stuff, which after doing that, I was like, oh, I wish we would have. But anyway, that was another $399 just to get 4 bedrooms done, because the rest of our house is either hardwood or tile. So 4 bedrooms, not the closets in the bedrooms, just the bedrooms, cost $399. And that was In 2 of the rooms, it was just steam clean. One of them had some spots, so they had to spot clean that or treat that. And then the other one needs to be deep cleaned. So yeah, that was $399. And then we had to have the house professionally cleaned from top to bottom, which again, normally we do our own cleaning. However, I will say this, y'all, when we moved out and we're looking at it, and you know, when you have furniture sitting here for long periods of time and you know, whatever, you're like, whoa, it accumulates a lot of dust. So that cost, ready for it? Drum roll. $610 to get our house clean. Y'all, when I saw that number, I was like, they done lost their everlasting mind. $610. Ugh, anyhow. But the gentleman was like, yeah, it could take us up to 5 to 8 hours with 3 people. Da, da, da. So I look at the math and I'm like, okay, that could, you know, I get it, right? You got to pay all those people hourly for that length of time. I get it. So, anywho, that's what that costs. And we had to have the gutters cleaned, which was another $90. And then there's also the 10% management fee, which comes out every month of the rent. And that's based on your rent, right? So if you go with a property manager, you have to pay a 10% management fee, whatever that is. So that will fluctuate for you based on what your rent is. So there's also something called a finder's fee that our realtor charges. And that is whoever actually finds the tenant that's gonna rent the place, they get paid a fee for finding the tenant, right? And that fee for our property manager was a little steep. However, it is what it is. That was another $750. And then you also have to have your furnace checked. And since we had just had a new furnace installed, the company that we got it installed through gave us a year's worth of checks and whatever, inspections and stuff. So they came out and did that for free. So we didn't have to pay for that this time. However, next year, I'll let you know what that costs. Another cost, rekeying. So obviously, you know, you have your front door, your back door, your side door, your garage door, and all that fun, all the different doors in your house. I didn't even realize how many doors we had, y'all, until I had to get all the keys together for all the doors. I was like, holy moly, that's a lot of keys. Anywho, so we had to pay to have the house rekeyed. And that's obviously when a locksmith comes out and changes all the locks out. Not the locks, but they just rekey them so that the new tenant gets a new key. And although I had never heard of this, I've heard of rekeying, but I didn't know that was something you had to do when you had a rental property. I get it, right? It protects us and it protects the tenants. So if there were ever anything to happen and somebody were to come in their house, they can't accuse us of, oh, well, they had the key, so maybe they're the ones that came in the house and did whatever. The house has been rekeyed, so all their keys, they only have copies of those keys, plus the property manager, of course, has a set of keys, but we no longer have the keys to our house. Oh, y'all. I had to say that just now. That that's disturbing. Like, we don't have the keys to our house. Like, we can't. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, we had to pay, I don't know if I said the cost, $108 to get the house rekeyed. And then the last fee that we had to pay per the property management was to have the fireplace inspected, which I mentioned. They literally, y'all, came out, turned the switch on, said, oh, it looks good. Went outside, make sure the exhaust was working, came back in a matter of maybe 10 minutes max, we're done. Like, done, finished, out the door. Anywho, that costs another $109. Yeah, so that's that. And then the 3 other fees that we had to pay, again, because we just things that we wanted to get done, were we got the house power washed. And that was another $200. And then we got the yard professionally cut and trimmed, which we normally do ourselves. However, when you're moved out and you're doing all this fun stuff, you just don't have time. We didn't have time for that. So we paid a company to come out and do that. That was another $80. The last fee was we had our crawl space encapsulated. So that's pretty much, they come out, they kind of clean all that, what's that stuff called? Insulation. So when we first moved in, there was insulation in there, and it was getting all yucky, and it was getting moisture, and it was just, ugh. So we had all that cleaned out, and then they came out and they like put this foam, and they put this, like, I'm gonna call it a tarp, but it's not a tarp. It's a better word for it, and it's much better quality than a tarp. But they line it with this special fabric. I don't know, it's like plastic. Anyway, and then they seal all the walls or what have you, so that no moisture comes in. And then you put a dehumidifier in there, and that helps to regulate the space so that it doesn't get too humid or too dry, so that all the wood planks under there that are holding the house up don't rot, right? Anywho, so We had to have the crawl space inspected, which normally, again, we take care of that, but since we're not gonna be there, we're gonna get that done every year. And they come out, they just inspect it, make sure it looks good, they check the dehumidifier, make sure it's good to go. And that was another $150. So in total, we had to pay out $3,269 to just in move out fees. So if you're considering becoming a landlord, I encourage you to do it, right? And have some money set aside or a credit card that you can use to get yourself started, because those are just some of the fees that we had to pay. And again, that is, some of those fees were because we went with a property manager and those were things that they require. So I'm not telling you that every property would cost as much. I'm not telling you that every property manager is going to require these things. However, that was our experience. Those were the costs that we paid. And yeah, they were more than we expected. And like I said at the beginning, well worth it, because we want our house to be maintained and taken care of. And we want it, when the tenants move out, they have the same checklist plus some of things they have to check and make sure are done before they can get their security deposit back. So yeah, so that's been our experience thus far with renting our home and becoming landlords. Thanks for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it helpful. If you have any other questions about becoming a landlord, please feel free to ask. This is my first time, so I'm not gonna have all the answers necessarily, and I'll be happy to help you the best I can. And if you haven't, hit that like button and subscribe if you're interested in seeing upcoming videos. And until next time, be well.